Destination Newry, you're most welcome. If you're joining us, I'm glad you've been with us from the beginning, if that be the case. Rowan Hand's my name. I have the pleasure of being your host. Weekdays, 7:30 to 10:30, Monday to Friday. And I'm joined now with in Studio 1 by Sister Perpetua, Mercy Sister, and Donal Hanlon, a man of some artistic prowess.
The sublime and the ridiculous.
I was thinking that. I didn't want to say that, you know. But listen, this is about Newry's greatest, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. It's the 20, let's remind the people, because we want the people to go to it, the 28th of February in the town hall in Newry, and you come and you elect Newry's greatest ever person, and that's happening on the 28th of February in the town hall, and the money taken on the night will go to concern worldwide for the alleviation of the difficulties and the hurts of the Syrian refugees. So it's the best possible reason to be doing this, isn't it?
It is.
Sister, we'll come to you first. The Russell sisters, and you're the proponent of their cause and their case.
Yes.
Who were the Russell sisters? Why are they important?
Well, they were born in Newry, for starters. We hear a lot about Lord Russell of Cologne. They were his sisters. We don't hear anything about them. His grandniece was over in Newry a few months ago. She didn't know that Lord Russell had sisters. So I want to make it known that he had four sisters. One died young. Three others became Sisters of Mercy. They did tremendous work, both in Newry, the surrounding countryside, Warrenpoint, Rostrava, Bestbrook. One of them went to California, did heroic work out there, absolutely. So they did a tremendous lot for the social and economic development, not just in this area, but abroad.
Abroad.
And that is why I think they should be known.
Well, heroic work is not strange to the Sisters of Mercy, because you're a Christian expeditionary force, if you like.
We try.
You guys are in Minna, in the way up to the north of Nigeria. Right, yes. You're all over the world, and you've done great things.
44 countries at the moment.
It's wonderful. It's a great thing to be part of, and you've been part of it all your life. Like my Aunt Maureen was a sister all her life. She went to Alnwick in Northumberland.
That's right, I knew her well.
Did you know
I
Maureen?
did indeed, I was in Alnwick.
God bless her. Bailiff Gate in Alnwick. And she's buried there, I believe.
Right,
that's it. And so we'll come back now in a moment about that. That's your opening ploy there, your opening gambit. Sean Hollywood, Newry's greatest. You're going to walk away with it, aren't you?
I don't know. I have the advantage that he's in most people's living memory, but I think I've heard the cases being put by my colleagues, and they are fairly they're going to be difficult to surmount. Hollywood was a great character in four areas of his life. He had the politics, first of all. He was a wonderful teacher. He had the sport, and he had the drama. What we're going to ask people to vote on are three aspects. First of all, for each person, how they improved the social quality of lives in Newry, how they improved the economic status of people in Newry, and how much they brought fame or honour upon the town.
He did the first of those. The second one, how did he bring prosperity?
Well, I'll tell you. That Newry March, of which himself and, of course, Rory McShane were such a big part, led a month later to the downfall of the Stormont government. And I believe whenever Westminster took control, that was the beginning of the end of the economic blight in this area, that Newry, where jobs could not be got for love nor money, that it was far more equitable after the demise of Stormont.
You knew Hollywood. Was he aware of the journey he was set out upon? Had he an acute, finely focused awareness that he was going to change history?
No, I think nobody can predict accurately what would happen in history. And as far as Sean was concerned, I think that act was, in Churchillian terms, merely the end of the beginning. Unfortunately, it took so long and was so arduous, the road to the end play, but it was merely an end of the beginning. Once the Stormont government had gone, things could change.
Sister, the wonderful Russell sisters, who you hope will be Newry's greatest.
Yes.
They didn't stay, they went away.
They stayed, no, they didn't go away, just one went away.
One went away.
One went away. Actually, Mother Aquin, she brought the Sisters of Mercy to Newry. She trained in Kinsale, in the convent there. There was no convent of mercy in Newry when they were growing up.
Yeah.
And she trained in Kinsale, came back with 4 other sisters and founded the convent in Newry.
Sent by the Bishop of...
Bishop Blake, Bishop of Dromore.
Yeah,
yes.
said to come to Newry.
That's right,
But
yes.
that gives you great credence,
So,
great importance, that to found Newry's primary educative system at that time.
yeah.
That's what they did.
And then her sister entered there a few years later, Mother Emmanuel.
Wow.
So the two, and they founded, Mother Ackman, she founded the convent in Rostrevor,
Yeah.
set up a school there. When she went first, there was no school. There was no building for a school, actually. There wasn't even a convent. And the parish priest gave her his residence, the sisters who went there for the time being.
Wasn't he decent?
Yeah, it was. Well,
Wouldn't be often you would get that now, maybe, I would
they
say.
couldn't camp on the roadside, could they? After all, he invited them.
He invited them,
But
so he had
but
to
the
do
convent
that.
wasn't built,
Yeah.
it wasn't finished. But she set up a school in a cowhouse
My goodness.
because there was no building, and she was suffering from TB. And a writer of the time says that this building, from its size and ventilation, wasn't even good enough for cows.
My goodness.
So that took courage
Yeah.
and stamina.
It also took conviction and
determination.
belief and faith and
Absolutely.
the Christian God at
Absolutely.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she began the education of children in Rostrevor.
Yeah. So those children, what was the characteristic of that group at that time, the children of the day? They had never been educated before?
No,
Ever?
absolutely. No,
And
not
what
to my
year are we
knowledge. Not
talking
there.
about?
I don't think there was a school in
Yeah,
Rostrevor.
what year are we talking about, roughly?
We're talking
Roughly.
about 18. They
Yeah.
came to Newry in 1855. 1865. They established
Relatively
the
short
convent.
time ago, isn't it, if you think about it?
Well, it is. But if you look at Ireland at that period of time, the vast majority of the people were illiterate,
Yeah.
extremely poor.
Yeah.
It was after the famine. There was great, terrible deprivation. Absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And Mother Emmanuel, she set up the school in Lurgan.
Goodness gracious.
And when she went there, they had no materials, they had nothing. And she used to teach the children, they would cut out letters from the newspapers
Yeah.
and stick them onto cardboard. And that was their alphabet.
Wow. It's so...
And she also tried to set up a school in Bestbrook, 1983, but there was a man there promised them a barn.
Yes.
It was a step up from the stable.
Was a step
It
up
was
from the
indeed.
stable. Yeah.
But there was
yeah.
a difference of opinion between the a man who had rented property there and the landlord. So the school lasted for a day. Eventually, it took 6 years to get it established.
But this is powerful stuff, Donal, because these women established education, sent education out from Newry to far and wide.
Yes.
These people changed the whole social being of Newry. Your man was a civil rights man who walked in a parade that may or may not have done anything. He didn't know it was going anywhere. He danced and sang on the stage and was an actor. Great sports fellow. That doesn't make him the greatest, does it?
But I think it certainly makes him an all-rounder, and that
And
he's...
an impressive fellow.
Yes, but more than
But
that...
sure, he
that-
couldn't tie the bootlaces of these women, could he? He would be the first to tell you. He'd say,
Well, having
"These are
experienced
great
Sean
women."
as a teacher,
Yeah.
I can say that he was the most inspiring man that I have ever met in educational circles. And all through my teaching life, I strove pathetically every day to be a little bit of Sean Hollywood when I'd stand in front of pupils. He was able to extend the best people in the class beyond what they would have dreamt. And he was a great man for, I put myself in this number, the dissidents in the classroom. And he inspired us all, and I know that I would not
Continuity,
I would not have reached
continuity dissidence. That would be you, I'd
That's
say.
right. I would have not have reached the relatively shallow heights that I did had it not been for Sean Hollywood putting a firm hand on my shoulder and leading me through the system. So there are countless people who have gone on to all heights in society with Sean Hollywood ethos.
Isn't it a
in the back of
strange
the brain.
but expected thing that during his lifetime, Sean Hollywood was never regaled in this way? But on his death, the cathedral was packed to the rafters
Of course.
for his funeral. It was only then, after his death, that people said, he was a great fellow. He was all sorts of everything when he was alive. Look at your man. Who does he think he is?
Wearing a jumper with pigs on it, walking down the street like a policeman. Sean had high visibility where before anybody invented it. However, I think Newry is a town that has famously loved its eccentrics right up to the present day, and Sean certainly comes from the eccentric ranks.
Sister, is any of this frightening you?
In what sense?
In the sense that you're not going to win, that this fellow Hollywood might snatch it away from you.
Well, we haven't had a vote yet, so you can't say I'm not going to win.
But I mean, it's a powerful enough thing he's saying, is it not?
I will tell you about the third sister, Mother Baptist.
Yes.
They were asked to go to San Francisco because after the gold rush there, the gold rush happened in 48, and she went out in 54. And San Francisco was, the whole city was in a dreadful state because the population had increased vastly from about 300 in 1848 to about, 50,000. And the city couldn't cope with this influx of people from abroad. They came from all over the world. People were living in dreadful conditions, terrible, absolutely awful.
As was she when she went.
When she went. The crime, prostitution, sickness, disease, people living in hovels, all that type of thing. And she really changed the face of San Francisco. So much so that today there is a monument to her and the Sisters of Mercy at the entrance to the state capitol in Sacramento.
My goodness.
Now you tell me any other Newry person who has a monument to them at the state entrance to any capital. There may be. I don't know of any.
I don't know of any. I don't know
That's
of any.
some homework for you to do.
I know. I don't know of any. I don't know of any.
As well as that, there was a book publication, Makers of California.
Yeah.
And there were 90 lists. There were 90 people listed there.
Yeah.
There's one woman, and that woman was Mother Baptist Russell.
Oh. The Mercy Order, it's an Irish phenomenon, yes?
Yes, very definitely. Founded in Dublin, 1831.
Yeah.
Catherine Macaulay.
Yeah.
She was an heiress. She gave all her money to help the poor,
Isn't that
set up
wonderful?
systems.
It reminds me of the great saying, that kept is lost. That not given is lost.
Yes.
And that's certainly, your people give and give constantly.
Well, that's what they signed up to when they entered religious life.
Yeah. Strong faith, of course.
You need it. She had tremendous faith. All of them had tremendous faith in God. At one stage, she borrowed. She was very influential in setting up health systems, hospitals.
Goodness sake.
Yeah.
This was prayer with a difference.
And the hospital, and they still have in California a massive commitment to health.
Yeah. Started there by...
And education and social health. Started by Baptist Russell from Newry.
From Newry.
Yeah.
And it all grew from that. I want to tell you, would you please close your ears for a moment? I'm going to vote early and vote often for the Russell sisters.
You're the returning officer. You don't have a vote.
Oh, I don't have a vote. Oh, goodness gracious.
You would be following a tradition, wouldn't you?
Would be very fine. A Hollywood tradition. Oh, did I say that? He went to Parliament, or tried to go to Parliament, didn't he?
He did.
Was it Enoch Powell
twice.
beat him?
It was Captain Orr first,
Captain
and then
Orr,
Enoch
that's
Powell.
really far
And he
back.
narrowed the gap from, I think it was a 20,000 majority to 3,000. So he came very close to it. But it's to our advantage that Sean stayed at home.
Yeah. That Johnny did. Indeed it is. But the thing about, we've talked about the faith of Mother Baptist and the Russell sisters, and how their faith drove them on, their faith in the Christian God. You knew Sean Hollywood. Was he rich in the faith of the Christian God? Had he a belief? Was he a spiritual man?
I believe so, but he kept that very personal to himself. And he certainly had firm principles. And those principles would have been founded in what you would see in Christianity, and the goodness and the love of your fellow man. So he was not overtly one. He would not, as they say in some circles, eat the altar rails. But he had been an altar boy in his time, and I believe that the education that you get is very hard to slough off you. That it's always there. Yeah. Some he did no harm to people. If that's
no, of course not. That's spiritual enough for me, I think. And it's a good launch pad to doing things. But he's maybe at a disadvantage. People might say on the night, yes, very good, Donal. That's very interesting, Donal O'Hanlon. But he's been feted already. Well, he's got an art centre.
Well, he has, but I think everybody leaves something behind of them, and I think all the candidates, 7 candidates on the night, will have their own monuments that they have left. Sean's legacy is something more cerebral, I think. There are attitudes that he's left, and we all felt very much empowered by him and I'm sure people in other aspects. Whenever he died, there was no sense of, well, that's it, so long, and thanks for all the fish. We were all able to work in a Hollywood-like way to sustain, particularly the work with the young that he does. He started off this youth group where we would have maybe up to 100 children every summer, 6 weeks, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, working on plays, their personal development, all for nothing.
This is a guy who is teaching them right up to the beginning of the summer and teaching them then again at the end of the summer.
They loved him. They couldn't get enough of Sean Hollywood. But that was without a penny. The children were never charged a penny. There was a story always told that if John Lynch had to pay 50p a week to be in Newpoint, he never would have been an actor, and I think John will concur with that. So it was a great service that he gave, and we're honoured to continue that tradition.
Is there with Hollywood, I know you're a Hollywood aficionado, is there a substantial Hollywood coterie around Newry still?
Oh, I think so. I think we all have a little tattoo of Sean somewhere with a heart around it on our shoulders or elsewhere.
A Hollywood scapular.
Funny you should say that.
Well, I come back to the Sisters of Mercy because I've been very closely involved all my life. You educated my daughters, thank you. I thank you publicly to the world, I tell you. And 2 of them have gone on to the nursing profession and have done beautifully and are caring and looking after people on an ongoing basis. So you're now big in Sacramento, of course, and you're big in the west coast of America and whatever, but you're also big in the Hand household. And you're thought of constantly kindly for what you've done. Yeah, they're good. Yeah. They're good people. But the tradition of Catholic missionaries coming out of Ireland is very strong, and I found that the missionary outreach gains great acceptance on the basis of the kind of Irish agricultural tradition, the rural tradition. Because when you go to Africa, you're finding, and other countries, I know of Africa better, when you go to Africa, 9 times out of 10 you're dealing with an agricultural people. And there is a commonality of interest. So you're in with a head start when you go out to bring the message.
They're also very much involved in education. Because that was one of the tenets. If you're going to assist people, see to the immediate needs. If people are hungry, feed them. If they've no dwellings, house them. And then help them to help themselves. And the first way to do that is by education. It's the first step on the ladder. That is how they would think. And then train them to get a job, to be self-sufficient, to find work. And in that way they will have self-esteem, they will have pride in themselves, they'll be able to go forward.
That's what your
So that the education, they would regard that as exceptionally important. Whether you do it in the fields or you do it in the classroom, no matter where you do it.
I've seen it with your people in Minna on the road to the river in northern Nigeria.
Were you in our school there?
I wasn't in your school there. No, I was passing by, and on the day there was the hint of riots going to happen in the town. It was Friday and the prayers at the mosque and things like that.
Can I tell a little?
We knew that we would go ahead, but the intention was to go, but we didn't get. We passed through. Somebody said, "That's where they are, over there," kind of thing. Don't know.
At around the time of the Newry March, my wife was with the Kiltegans in northern Nigeria. She spent 3 years out there teaching, and that famous.
Where was she, Kano or somewhere like that?
No, would it be Uturpo?
Northern is very difficult at the moment. It wouldn't have been. It's difficult then too, but the interface has become more problematic.
But the story to tell you was that she was there. She was 3 years there, and could be a lonely station at times. And word came in that there had been the Sunday in Derry, and there was going to be the big march in Newry, and more bloodshed. And there in the wilderness, right at the end of the world, she heard a voice over the radio, and that voice was Hollywood. Talking about what had happened and what they hoped would happen the following week.
He's an amazing man. I have some photographs. I've come across them. Must get them to you of him and his trade union demonstrations in Newry and things like that. You know.
Well, see, while being a great educator, he was never a man for the for the politics of power in school terms. At one stage, word came down from above that every teacher, without exception, was to wear a tie. Sean famously would not wear a tie. He ignored this order, and it was made clear to him in writing that he was expected to wear a tie. So he got the kids in school, and they came in with the vilest concoctions from their father's wardrobe. They had spinning dicky bows, they had flashing ties, which he dutifully wore for about a week until he was quietly told
not to.
It's all right. Yeah. It's all right.
I know a certain person who once told the students in the school that they should wear dresses that went down as far as their ankles. They were a certain checkered colour. And there was opposition to that at the beginning, and then they loved it forevermore. It was for your girls, your senior girls.
I know who you're talking about.
Was it you introduced that?
We spent 2 years thinking that they had uniforms, and they continued taking them up and taking them up. There was nothing left. So we spent 2 years wondering what we would do, and we came up with the skirts. And then they were supposed to be down halfway down and they were wiping the streets literally. So one extreme to another.
They just love them now. It's a badge of honour that they wear now.
They are nice.
So maybe you should be Newry's greatest, having bequeathed the long uniform to the girls of. It's sad there are fewer sisters there now.
Oh yeah, well.
It's the way of life, isn't it?
God's in charge of that.
He is in charge of that. He is, of course. But I mean, your work continues. You talk, and you impress people with what you do and what the sisters do, and the work continues.
Well, they have left a legacy which will be carried on by lay people.
Of course.
A lot of the work which the sisters have done has been doing extremely well now by the laity. Extremely well.
It's rich in the majority world. Yeah. It's still there in Africa and India and places like that. Wherever you are, there is a need there, and that's been met. Yes. But even there's the African church. Now is the African church in where we are. We have the first Canberra man became a priest, and that priest became the first Canberra bishop. And Tim Carroll, who was the bishop there at the SMA, Tim's back home now, retired, and Bishop Bullis is there, a Canberra.
I see.
It's great. It's great altogether. Anyway, I want to thank you for coming in. We will remind the people again of the need. And the need, of course, is to come along on the 28th to the Town Hall in Newry. And the object of the exercise is to elect Newry's greatest. And the few bob that you'll give on the night will be going straight to Concern Worldwide for the refugees from the Syrian crisis. And if you're cold and wet and problematic here with the weather we're having, you just multiply that manyfold and you'll know what it's like for the children of Syria. So a great reason to be there and to do it. And it's the 28th again. You can get tickets in Savage's shop around the corner, in Carlin's Records on Hill Street in Newry, and down on Mary Street at Crash Services. So we want you there on the night, and that'll be good.
Hosted by your good self.
Oh, sure. I'll be doing me
with
best.
your wit and repertoire.
And voting for me. Oh, you said he wasn't allowed to vote?
Oh, no, we can't have any favouritism.
I can't say nothing. I'll rig it.
This is a Bruce Forsyth type, you're my favourite.
Dear folks, God bless you. Go well. And thank you so much for coming. Andrew will have some music. Thank you. There we are.
Virgil Caine is my name, and I drove on the Denver train. So much cavalry came and tore up the tracks again. In the winter of '65, we were hungry, just barely alive. I took a train to Richmond that fell. It was a time I remember oh so well. The night they drove old Dixie down, and all the